Hey all my bookish friends, welcome back to my channel. Thank you again for coming back and watching what I have to say and talk about and all of the things. Today I'm going to try to start a series. It's in combination of Lezlie and the Nerdy Narratives channel and Rachel and the Book Boots channel, and I'll leave their channels linked down below. Both of them, they do kind of a wrap-up style that I enjoy. Lezlie does a weekly reading wrap-up style, and Rachel, she does a recent reads style video, and I kind of mesh the two styles together. I don't read enough books during a week to do a weekly wrap-up. And I'm going to try to do, when I get 3 to 6 books, and do a recently read style video. So I'm going to kind of combine the two. Lezlie, she does what she's read in a week and then what she's thinking about reading next. And so I'm going to kind of combine the two styles together. So once I get, like I said, about 3 to 6 books, I'll do a video, whether it's at the middle of the month, the end of the month, that style. So I'll talk about the books that I've read and then what I'm going to be diving into next and that sort of thing. So just kind of combining those two styles together, and I think that will probably work best for me. So it's not going to be a bi-monthly thing or anything like that. It's just whenever I get a collection of books together, like I said, between 3 and 6, and then I'll kind of give you a mini wrap-up that way. So I think those two styles will blend well with the way that I consume my books, and I think that will be a good in between those two styles, if that kind of makes sense. Alright, so I've kind of got a few notes about the 3 books that I currently have that I wanted to talk about, so let us get started. So the first one that I finished in the latter part of December, so we're kind of doing a rewind a little bit. I know we are in January when this video goes up. So this was A Beauty in Darkness. This follows 3 different points of view, or POVs. So in this book, we're following Leah. For the most part, she is trying to save her kingdom. She's having to make some hard choices. She loves Rafe. And she wants nothing more than to marry him and live happily ever after. But she also knows, because she has the gift, that she knows the Komozar, he is alive, and she knows he is coming for her and her kingdom. And she knows if her kingdom falters, then every other kingdom is going to be consumed as well, because he has this overwhelming urge and desire to consume and be world dominant and that type of thing. So she knows that she has to save her kingdom. So you're following her, and she knows there are a lot of vipers in her kingdom that are well placed high up. She doesn't know who they are, but they know that they are there, and she's got to be able to flush them out. And then you have also following Rafe, who has suddenly become king in his kingdom. I'm not going to tell you how that all happened, because you have to read the book. And he is now having to have to make some very hard personal decisions. Does he follow Leah and help her on her quest? Does he go back and, settle things down in his kingdom, then follow her? So he's having to make personal decisions on his own, because they have made promises to each other that their 2 kingdoms are not going to pull them apart. So there's some difficult decisions that have to be made there. And there were a lot of heartbreaking moments throughout the whole thing. You think one thing, then other things happen, then more other things happen. So it was really difficult to read at certain points. And then you have Caden. He's been kind of this wrench in this little triangle zone going on. You think he's settled down and he's finally accepted this love between these 2 characters. He himself has felt betrayed because she has played him in the second book, trying to survive in Caden's kingdom. And that whole thing that went on in his book too. If you've read it, you know what I'm talking about. But then he seems to have accepted their relationship, and he's becoming more of a friend And then when he's seeing some problems developing between them because of the struggles between the two kingdoms and what she needs to do and what he needs to do, and he now has hope. So there's this going on and some other things that go on as well, and then how everything resolved. It was such a great read. I loved it so much. I would highly recommend this trilogy as a whole. The second book was a little bit difficult for me to get into, but it was more, I think, just the time that I was reading it more than anything. It was still a great read. But yes, as a whole, I would recommend the trilogy because the final book, definitely worth getting through the second book to get to this book. I loved it. Loved, loved, loved this trilogy. Okay. The second book that I got through at the latter part of December was the Percy Jackson and the Olympians. This is the first book, The Lightning Thief, out of this series. This is my first book diving into middle grade books, which is what I'm wanting to do. I'm striving to read more middle grades in year 2022. I started again in December. So that is my quest this year, is to read more middle grade. So I can recommend more books to my students because I teach 7th graders. But if you enjoy Greek mythology, I think you would enjoy this book. It takes Greek mythology, it blends it into modern times in a modern day setting. I really enjoyed it. So much happens in the first 4 chapters. In the very first chapter, it got me hooked into this book. So it doesn't really stop. It slowed down a little, I think, when he got to, I think it was called Camp Half-Blood, but it just gives you a lot of background information that the reader kind of needs to know. And then once they get back out into the world, it just, zoom, takes off again. So you need that background information and you need that breather before it takes off again, and then it doesn't really stop afterwards. It just keeps that steady, fast pace going throughout the whole book. So I really enjoyed it. You learn a lot about why the gods don't really take a lot of part in their children's life. It makes sense why they don't. And the reasons behind all it does make sense of why it's still hard on their children, why their fathers or mothers are not in their lives, but it also makes sense in a way. So it really is good. It is great how everything resolves itself. I really did enjoy it. You follow Percy. You follow him being accused of taking something that he had no idea he was even part God. And then now he's being accused of something that he didn't do. And now he's having to solve this mystery of who actually really did it and get said object back by a certain time. And all of that. It was a great story. I really enjoyed it. I can't wait to pick up book 2. I just got to get through some of my TBR first. And then I'm going to pick up book 2 and maybe next month when I can fit it in. But really enjoying it. Can't wait to continue the series. Loving it. Loving that experience. And then the third and final book that I managed to squeak in once my migraine let go of me after a week and a half. I got to book 7. Was able to finish it out in December. Didn't have to roll it over to January's TBR. This is book 7, The Widow's Web. Oh my God, it was so good. Oh, so good. You are following Jen Blanca, of course. You're following her. Alias is the Spider. That is her assassin name. She wants to, of course, as in every book, she wants to be a retired assassin. She's done her time. Her mentor had been killed back all the way in book 1. And his wish for her is to be retired, enjoy retirement, enjoy her life. She has a huge retirement fund and all of that. And she wants to do that. That is her goal. She wants to be retired. She doesn't want to continue to do that. But the underworld, the seedy underworld of Ashland just won't let her do that. Especially after she killed off the big bad. That was a personal goal of hers, was to get revenge off of Matt Monroe, who had killed her family back when she was a teen. She did that. That was her ultimate goal, to one day do that. But now there's a vacuum in the underworld of Ashland. All the big bads in the underworld want to take Mab's place, and to do that, they want to kill her. So, all the big and bads who want to take place want to kill her, to take off and say, this is the trophy, the one that killed Mab. I killed her. I'm the big bad. And so, there is that. So now another big bad has moved in. This one is a very sadistic, sociopathic killer that has a different motive coming in, a different agenda, killing the spider. Just a little perk, little side thing. She has her own agenda, whole nother motive to come into Ashland. Didn't really involve her until she finds that she's with Owen. That didn't go over too well. So that became a reason for her to then knock off the spider. It was kind of a side benefit on her little list of reasons to take her out later, but it wasn't high on her priority list until she saw her at dinner with her before lover, fiance, Owen, and it then progressed from there. But Selena, she's a very homicidal, sadistic, sociopathic water element who has a vendetta against a lot of people in Ashland, and she's not afraid to use her powers in a negative way. So highly recommend. Love this book. It has probably one of my favorites in a long time out of the series. The others have been really good, but this one was really, really good. Love this one. This one is one of my top favorites so far. So, very heart-wrenching at certain different points in this book. It really hit the feels a lot. Love this one. Highly recommend this series if you love elemental magic being used. There are a lot of consequences to using elemental magic. Excuse me, there is a price to pay for using it. Highly recommend this series. I can't wait to finish this series so I can pick up more Jennifer Estep's books. But I am loving this series. Cannot wait. I have book 8, and I've recently got some other books from her, so I can't wait to get to them once I make my way through some of my TBR project books. But oh my gosh, I love this book so much. Oh, so good. All right. So what am I working on in January? That is where we're heading to next. All right. So one of the first books I will be reading in January. This is a buddy read. Not a shocker. I've had some announcement videos. Game of Thrones. I will be reading it steadily throughout January. I'll try to read as much as I can before I head back to work, because then my reading will definitely slow down a lot. So I'll try to get as much as I can read before I go back to work. But yeah, priority book number 1, Betty Reed. Second priority book is The Savage Lands. Again, this is the second Betty Reed that I am hosting as well. Hosting the Game of Thrones by George R.R. Martin, which I didn't tell you prior. But then Savage Lands by Stacey Marie Brown is the second book that I'm hosting Betty Reed with. So I will prioritize this next. For my Deca TBR, my mood read was Mortal Hearts by Robin Lefevers. This is the last book out of his Fair Assassins trilogy that I want to get to, so I'll be reading on it in the start of January. I replaced, I think, one of the books from the Deca TBR, the one that was less than 200 pages, with Atlas by Shaw Hart. I subbed this one in for that book, so I was more into a romance read than a horror read. So I subbed this in, so that will be Deca TBR. I will also be picking up The River and the Spring by Lezlie Pike at the beginning of January. Again, Deca TBR. This was the prompt 3 or more word title, so I'll be picking that up. And then if I get time, if I get any of those read, I will pick up The Iron Hunt by Marjorie M. Liu. if I get any of these previous books read. But that concludes this video. So let me know down in the comments below, what are you currently working on in the month of January? So what are you currently reading? What have you recently read? All of those things. Give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed my recently read books. Have you read any of these? Leave me those types of comments down below. And like always, happy reading, you guys. Until my next video.